Yes, that is spectator mode on Avatar HD. And I'll be talking about that in tomorrow's video, but I thought I would share it with you up front. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is another Sunday night, and it's time for a live stream. And it's a big one, this one, because it's 40k. The channel has hit 40k. Now, this is just incredible, and we will talk about this a bit more later on. However, it has been quite a week in FPV this week, because not only have we had a resolution to the Orqa thing, we've also now entered a point where we're in the autopsy and people are going, what really was this about? And so much so, the news even made, pardon me, I've just dropped my tea, Lewis Rossman. And Lewis has a video on it. For those who don't know who Lewis is, it's a person I've been following for years. And he has some really interesting takes as well. We're also going to talk about, there is a new firmware update for the Avatar HD system. You just saw part of that. And that is the spectator mode. And I will touch on it a little bit. There is a full video coming on that too. As Bruce quite rightly said, the Register did pick up the story as well. And we'll also talk about anything else and answer any questions you guys may have. Now, I can see the chat, but Quad City Bay Area is coming swinging with a super chat out the door. Thank you, my friend. He said, I'm quite disappointed with Walk Snail after 1 year. I'm assuming 1 year DJI refined their system dramatically. DJI didn't launch at the point Avatar was. DJI was pretty much where it is today on day one. The only thing you didn't have is 50 megabits a second mode, and that's about it. DJI, from an image quality and RF performance point of view, it very much launched that way. There really wasn't a huge change, but that is an interesting topic we will come on to later, because okay, I'm going to be open and honest here. It isn't just Avatar HD that's slowed down. HD Zero is in the midst of trying to get their issues resolved as well. And what you get is this initial excitement and buzz on a system, and then everything slows down. We're also going to talk about Chris Ross's testing as well, because Chris has put out a video which is really super interesting. But the problem with a video like this, especially when we start talking about the power levels, we have to be very careful. And I know Chris did an amazing job of saying, take these numbers with a pinch of salt. There is a reason I have not done any more power testing on DJI or Avatar HD, simply because in the end, the number doesn't really matter. And unless you're using a 30 plus grand VNA that is factory calibrated, the numbers you produce are just nonsense anyway. And here's the really interesting thing on this, and I'll put this little tidbit in here now. Even the FCC certification has a huge margin of error. They actually state plus minus 2 dB in the official documentation, and that is basically the difference between 800 milliwatts and 1200 milliwatts. So RF power management and measurement is almost a pointless exercise. But I want to talk about that in more detail, because there is some interesting things around that people need to understand. Not only EIRP, but also the fact that we don't even know DJI are outputting 1200 milliwatts, because we simply have a number in a menu. That number has never been verified. So we've really got to get away from what is the power level. What is the maximum is the maximum, and then you compare that to the maximum of the systems from a, does it transmit as far? Does the system work as far? Is the range, the penetration is good? The actual number is pointless. But we'll talk about that more later on. Now, hello to everyone in the chat. Quad City Bay Area, walks in a shearing mode is great, but concerned with a stable system at max settings. Yeah, Avatar is not stable at 1200 milliwatts, period. I don't fly it. I fly it at 25 milliwatts all of the time. However, my advice would be not to go over 1,000. So, that's my advice. I wouldn't bother with the extra 200. It's not worth it on that system. So, the first story I want to talk about is really, and let me just bring this to here, it's about me, and it's about the channel. And yes, we hit 40,000 subscribers, and I'm trying to find the button to turn. I was a little late getting started because I was listening to take that. Is this going to work? Yay! The channel has hit 40,000 subs, which is incredible. I just want to say a massive thank you from me to everyone who has supported the channel. It has been an incredible ride in the last sort of 3 years. Onwards and upwards. There's not a lot to make a fuss about because, look, we're already past it. As someone has just said, 40k one now. Exactly, Bruce. It's just marching on. But yeah, just a massive, massive thank you from me personally. More than that, the bit I want to say about thank you for, and these are the bits which I do sort of find interesting, but also sort of warming as well, is I'll often see, like with Bruce, but my name being mentioned in other contexts at times where people say, I wonder what Mad thinks about this. And that's the bit you sort of think, wow, people do pay attention to what we do. And look, a lot of my content is way too long. A lot of my content is... I could probably make the channel twice as successful if I made sure I don't posted a video over sort of 12 minutes. But I can't do it. I have to make sure the video does everything that I want the video to do. If I wanted to be a proper YouTuber, I would deliver the content the algorithm suggests I deliver. And look, someone commented on one of my videos yesterday about the Defender, not the Defender, the iFlight Quad, I've forgotten what it's called, the IH3. And they said this video was way too long. Probably. But that's what it takes for me to give you all of the information I needed to give. So be it. If the video is 20 minutes, it's 20 minutes. If the video is 40 minutes, it's 40 minutes. If you take my HD0 goggle review, that video was nearly an hour because I felt I couldn't get it below less than that. I'm not delivering the info that I wanted to do. And we've had the same today. There's been a video on the channel today about a portable power station. And look, I'll be honest, this thing is bloody fantastic. I really, really like this power supply. It's heavy, but it's got tons of power. And I've been using it so much over the last few weeks. But that video is probably too long. But if I'm going to get a product like that, I'm gonna put it on the oscilloscope. We're going to check the inverter is a true sine wave. We're going to measure all of the DC outputs. We're going to make sure that the product delivers. And I would love to do more content on those kind of things, but do it with all of that technical analysis as well. And I would have liked to have done more as a deep look at what the battery can do as well, but I didn't do it in this one. We might do that in a future video. But overall, I have to say that Blue Yeti, that's a stonking bit of kit. But yeah, so from a channel point of view, you know, just a massive thank you from me. I'll keep doing what I'm doing. Sorry, the printer's running. I don't know if you can hear it. It's printing a baby Yoda. We will keep doing what we're doing, but really more than anything, it's just a huge, huge thank you. It is incredible. It really, really is. Now, let's get on with the proper show and let's talk about the big story this week. And look, this remains the most bizarre situation I've seen. And that is, let's go to the desktop, the Orqa situation. Now, the good news, if you've been living under a rock, is they have a fix. They've released a firmware which flashes, replaces the bootloader, and fixes the issue permanently, as they tell us. We don't know for sure, because it's not open source. It's closed source proprietary software and hardware. Yet they have released a fix. Now, the really interesting thing on this fix is that they actually used the original file that was released by this swag as a sort of, we'll give you another 30 days. And they used that file as the way to get in and replace the bootloader, which I think is fine. At the end of the day, it's their hardware. But both sets of goggles have an unbricking procedure. Both sets of goggles are fine. The only issue you will have is if you had set the date to a future date beyond that extended period, that file they gave you did, and you'd then have to strip the goggles down and did the reset. If you had the V2s, if you had the V1s, I think you were stuffed. But Orqa would fix it back at the factory for you. However, the great news is it's fixed. Now, I have been reading around on the Orqa Facebook page, and there is some interesting stuff, and we'll come on to Lewis in a minute. There's been all sorts of comments popping up around people having issues, people having odd behavior. There was some concern from people about, Tony put a post out on this, about the file they'd included. They're saying it's the same file you told us not to use. And that is correct. Let me just find it. Bardwell put that out. But yeah, people were sort of worried about that fact, but Tony was like, don't worry about it, just do it, it'll be fine. Now, the interesting thing in this is, it does appear to be the case that Orqa have completely rewritten their bootloader without that software in. We don't know for sure, but that appears to be the case, which is absolutely fine. It's their hardware in the sense of they're the manufacturer, they resolved the issue. What's good is they fixed the problem predominantly for most people. There are some people who are still having issues doing it. Overall, though, it does appear to be the case that the overall problem is solved. There is still some potential here for issues with people who don't know about this, people who... What happens in a month's time, 2 months' time, 3 months' time? We don't know. There is all of the stock that's in retailers. There's all of the stock that's sitting in people's cupboards. There's an ongoing problem here that is going to come back at some point. Because you could have someone, for instance, with a set of goggles that they don't fly them for the next 3 months. They'll lock out and they will not be able to use that file and not be able to update. But at the end of the day, I know Orqa have said they'll solve this for people, and I'm 100% confident they will. I've seen nothing to suggest Orqa were never going to solve this themselves. But the part we're at now is the autopsy, because people are now starting to want to know what the cause of this is. And look, Lewis had his video, and it was posted here just now. And I'll be honest, Lewis has a really good video on this. You know, he is as balanced as he can absolutely be. He makes a very, very valid point in saying, I wouldn't buy anything from any of these two companies. And it's a very valid point to make, considering how murky this whole thing is. And what Lewis said was, well, look, if Orqa's contract says it wasn't licensed, they should publish that. The bit we don't know in all of this, and I guess it is hard, because if there is going to be a criminal case, at the end of the day, Orqa can't go shouting their mouth off too much at the moment, because this could all end up in court. We're going to have to give that some time on that side of things. But there is a very simple reality here, that this could have been just out and out naivety in a situation of they had someone that they worked with and trusted write a piece of software for them that was in there. They trusted them. They've worked with them on multiple occasions, and they had no idea this time bomb was in there until it hit. Now, would there be a contract in place? Not necessarily. If this was someone you knew and they were coming and they were paid by the hour, there wouldn't be contract. This person may have just This swag may have just, here's, in my 10 hours of dev time, I've created your bootloader. Well, here's an argument. Who owns that bootloader? Did Swag walk in with the bootloader and modify it for their system, or under Orqa's paid hourly rate, let's say, if that was the case, did they develop the bootloader? This all gets very, very murky and difficult to unpack. It really isn't as simple as saying, show me the contract, because there may never have been one. And you might say, well, that's naive. But if this person was brought in on the belief of hourly rate, this is exactly the same as a developer working for a company, working for them as a contractor, writing software under their contract, and then leaving and putting in a time bomb in 3 months later saying, oh, by the way, if you want this to continue working, you're going to have to pay me. So, look, I think it's fair to say all of this may be fairly all down to naivety. They may have even simply forgot that much of the code was being used on the developer. If it hasn't changed much since day one, perhaps it would have been there from day one. Although there are solid reports that early firmware versions did not lock out. There are very good reports of that as well. So it does appear to be the case that this swag put this bomb in after a certain point. From my point of view, and this is a personal take, okay? This is a personal opinion. Regardless of what Orqa has done, whether it be incompetence, whether it be naivety, whether it be out and out criminal, okay? And I'm not suggesting they have done one, two, or three of them. Whichever one, though, whatever Orqa did, the very fact that that swag was willing to basically use users of existing sold hardware as leverage against Orqa tells you the kind of person that is. And in my personal opinion, it is nothing but blackmail. Period. I don't care about licensing at this point. It is my personal opinion that regardless of what Orqa has or hasn't done, whether they've paid for a license or not, the behavior of that swag, in my opinion, was extortion and basically blackmail. If they had put a time delay message on the screen, if they had put a warning, then I understand it. However, the very fact their post said, oh, I've locked out your hardware because Orqa hasn't agreed a new deal. Until it's resolved, solve it. And it is different, and I just seen Bruce's point. Try not paying Adobe Premiere. Yeah, I get that, Bruce, but that's different. The end user pays the subscription. That's the difference here. But the very fact this company was willing to basically leverage users against Orqa tells me the kind of company they are. And that's my personal take. And I could be wrong, but I could have happily sat here and said, I'm not, if Orqa hasn't paid the license, that's bad on them. But the very fact that they went there to block users' goggles is utter extortion and completely unacceptable. It's horrible. Now, we can talk all along about Orqa. Incompetence, naivety, short-sightedness, or victim. Whichever one it is, the issue remains that they should have seen this coming. And I wouldn't be shocked if Orqa knew a little bit before it happened, but at the end of the day, they were probably passengers, and what could they do? I wouldn't be shocked if they knew a week before, but what could they do? This is the problem. There is nothing Swag could do that would justify this. That's interesting. Audio Geeks, if Swag should have sent invoices, it could have cleared this right up. There is nothing Swag could do that makes me go, it's Orqa's fault. Because they locked out users' hardware. Here's an interesting thing that this could have been handled. If what we believe is the case, that this Swag built the bootloader, which may have been obfuscated code, it may have been a blob that they couldn't see, that's fine. That must have a software method of being loaded onto the goggles. So whatever that tool is, why would they not have put the block in that tool to prevent Orqa making any more goggles and not block the existing ones? They could have put a time-delayed warning on the screen saying, this product is now unlicensed, please contact me. But in my opinion, if they wanted to stop Orqa, the tool in the background should have been where the issue was, not the end user product. If they'd have stopped Orqa making any new goggles, that is 100% legitimate. That is fine. If they prevented the bootloader being loaded onto any new hardware due to a date thing or something, that's fine. But to brick user goggles is nothing but blackmail and extortion, regardless of the licensing. End of. End of. That's my personal opinion on it. Now, there's been a lot of great content on this. There really has. If we go back to the desktop, you've got Lewis Rossman's. It was on the register as well, as Bruce has said. It's been all over the place. And Johnny Five had a video out. And look, Orqa goggles are very, very well known in racing. You know, they're very well used. So it's a weird one. The good news is, though, it is largely fixed. But what remains to be seen is the long-term effect. And I do think there's more pain to come on this for Orqa over time. Specifically with the fact of the goggles not being used, the goggles in people's... Because that file extended it till June or July. So, yeah, I don't know. And what's interesting in all of this is, I believe, from their own comments, Orqa were about to release a new goggle. I'm guessing that's delayed. There was new products meant to be coming this week. Obviously, they've been up to their eyes in it with something else. But I do believe there was meant to be new products coming, including a new goggle. Now, the question is, can Orqa recover their reputation? And genuinely, it's not for me to say. I don't know. What I would say is this. From the outside, they have handled this very well. However, will people continue to support them? Look, people have very short memories. That I can promise you. This will all blow over, and in 3 months, no one will care, and Orqa will continue to exist, and they will continue to make products. They are one of the major players in FPV goggles. Right, okay. I'll be honest, I would even argue Orqa are more relevant today than Fat Shark. And as a hot take as that is, at least Orqa are bringing out new products and not recasing, rebadging and rehashing either their old product or someone else's. So you could argue Orqa are the premium FPV goggle manufacturer for analog at the top. You then have HD0, again premium with DJI. And then you're left with Skyzone. And look, we're our Fat Shark. Fat Sharks still make products. Let's not pretend they don't. But everything from Fat Shark and Skyzone, Skyzone get this as well. Skyzone are as bad. Are just rehashing everything that's old. Because let's be realistic, that's not a Fat Shark product. That's an Avatar HD product. End of. We know probably Fat Shark had a hand in the design because of where the SD card slot's located. Come on. But in the end, this is largely an Avatar HD product. If we then go to headsets, we've got the Recon HD. Okay, that is a reworked Recon goggle where they've basically shoved in the Avatar VRX. And actually, something interesting about the Recon, it is actually a different PCB to the goggles or the VRX module. So it is actually a designed board. It's very similar to the board in the main goggle, but it isn't quite the same. I had actually assumed that the PCB in the Recon was basically the same PCB that was in the Dominator stroke Avatar goggle, and they just only used one display port. So rather than use two, use one. I assumed it was, but it isn't. It's an entirely redesigned PCB. Although typical Cadex terminology, it has exactly the same name as the PCB in the VRX module. Talk about versioning. But if we do look at Fat Shark, look, the products they make today, Recon HD, HDO2, Scout, and Attitude V6. That's it. 4 sets of goggles. All of these are gone. Base HD, Dominator HD3, Dominator, all of this is over. Today, you got these or these. That is it. That you know. And look, let's be honest. What's the spec on a set of Attitude V6s? I don't actually know. So we've got LCD displays, 1080 by 1280 by 960, and Fat Shark's horrible DVR. What's the price on a set of Attitude V6s today? If we go to get FPV, let's just have a look. Get FPV will be a good... Huh. Have they even got any? Wow. We want FPV. Come on, goggles. Let's have a look, shall we? So there's some older ones still on here. Fat Shark Attitude. It's a V6. There we go. $349. And what's the price of a set of Sky Zones? Sky Zones, a bit dear on some of them. The 04Xs are $589. 04Ls, $379. Interesting. The analog goggle market is still very expensive. But look, you've got a lot in here. But Fat Shark are just, no, $349, that's not what we're doing. But yeah, if we look at the products they're pushing out, that's it. 4 products. That is all they got today. That's it. So I would say with regards to Orqa, they are clearly probably the premium analog FPV brand. They are well established in racing, the number 1 largely to go to across the world in racing. HD0 may be a growing name in FPV racing goggles, but there's more work to be done there. We've got to sort these bloody analog issues out, and we need a stable firmware. And then Really, it's SkyZone, and yeah, look, it's that simple. And look, as Bruce has just said, I'd take the O4L over the Fat Shark any day. Absolutely. If we talk about the O4L, Bruce, if we go, so we go back to, so 349 versus, what's the spec on the O4L? O4L in stock. I can't remember what the spec is. 1280 by 960 LCDs. Yeah, so basically a similar goggle. Very similar goggle. And comes with a receiver, does it not? Yeah, built-in receiver as well. So you're paying, what? $30 more and you're getting a receiver. Yeah, built-in. You can't complain at that. You won't get a decent receiver for $30 anyway. So why would you not go for these? And actually, SkyZone have that new goggle that's out as well. 60 frames per second DVR, agreed. Yeah. Yeah, it's not a bad. And look, SkyZone do have that new set of goggles out. If we go to SkyZone's website, if I go on here, SkyZone have just released, which is basically the E-Sheens. So, and look, on Sky, where are they? They were the SkyZone O something. Where are they? I'm trying to find them. They're missing. Where have they gone? 040. Oh, there we go. So if we want to, I don't want this in pounds. What's this in dollars? Where do I change the language? Or where do I change the SkyZone? I want it in US. Where do I change the pricing? I don't want it in UK. Where's the US pricing? How does it? Ah, it's up here. Sorry, top left. Couldn't see it. Dollars. There we go. They're still Jira, but they're OLEDs. But you're not talking that much more for a set of OLEDs. So, with regards to Orqa, genuinely, I don't think it will hurt them too bad in the long run. But a lot of people have been burned, and a lot of people will think twice off the back of this. I would love to know more. I don't want to say any more than that a minute. Let's see what happens. I don't know what Orqa's new products are. Look, Orqa make some nice goggles. I would love to have had a set of the V1 Orqas. I would love to have had a set of the V1s. Personally, the V2s, the pilots didn't suit me. And that's why I ended up going with the SkyZone 04Xs. I would love a set of the V1s. I think the V1 would probably be the perfect, like the SkyZone analog goggle for me. It is a shame that they don't use both. They make both. I like the larger field of view. I like big field of view goggles. I think the V1s would have been a better goggle for me. They make some very nice products, and they are part of Immersion RC, or Immersion RC is part of Orqa now. So you've got all of those products as well. So there's a lot to like here. But let's see. You know, we're going to have to see. I think, my personal opinion is, I think they'll be fine. I think in the end, as I said earlier, regardless, even if Orqa completely got this wrong, that company, in my opinion, are their behavior was unacceptable. So we're going to have to see. I suspect you will see a few more updates from Orqa in the next couple of weeks. And look, let's see the long-term effect for users. Because as I've said, there's a number of users who are going to have pain on this. All of these goggles stored, all of these goggles in cupboards. The retailer ones, are they going to call them back? Are they going to, you know, there are going to be people who buy these goggles who come up against this problem. So I think there still needs to be some improvement. Just jumping to the chat. Okay, sorry about that. Let's go back up. Chris, agree on the field of view. I hate the tiny optics and lens too. Yeah, I think I'd like the first ones. HD0 is looking damn good at this point. Yes, but we need all these issues sorted out. And I will come on to the HD0s after this. Bruce, no, field of view is everything. I blew my mind when Orqa went to 37 degrees. They lost me then. Yeah, see, that's agreed. What about the digital Orqa stuff? I'm not aware of there being anything coming. Orqa have said they will not release a consumer digital FPV system until they can compete with the best in the industry. Now, I did talk about this last week on the live stream because that comment was taken as, and a few people went, so that means they're not going to release a system until they can beat HD0. And you're like, where did Orqa say HD0 is the best? What Orqa said was this: they will not release a digital FPV system until it can compete with what is the best on the market today. They didn't say what they felt was the best on the market today. So, we'll have to wait and see. But that was Ivan's words. Let me just... I can probably find it for you. I think I discussed this last week. There was just a fairly simple comment on it. I don't know if I can find the post. And it was fairly straight comment. I have got a screenshot of it somewhere. Oh, it might be this. Yeah, here it is, I think. So I think it's this one here. Was it this one? Can I see Ivan's face? And Ivan just made a really straight comment. No, it can't be this. Is there an update on the digital system for Orqa? No, it can't be. No, it can't be that one. I thought it was that post there, if I'm honest. But Ivan basically said, until there's a compatible, that's it. So, look, it's fairly straightforward. Can't find it, but I do have it. So, yeah, look, it is what it is. It is what it is. I don't think we'll see a digital system from Orqa anytime soon. As for what is the best on the market, they've not said. Just going to check my printer. Is it paging or is it stopped? Just checking. No, it's still working. That's fine. Okay. Since it was a bootloader, power cycle needed. London Ed, I think we can cut them a pass. This sucked, but no one died. Yeah, exactly. It just becomes a trust issue. I've been using a 12.9-inch iPad Pro with the USB for goggles out. Nice. What happened to all those people using their goggles at midnight? And no, it was fine, Bruce. It was only on a power reboot. And what it seems to have been is this. You powered up on the day and they worked once. And probably that's because the system booted, looked at today's date, and a flag was set in that bootloader. And then on reboot, it then kicked it in. Is Orqa's new product digital? Not that I'm aware. One IFPV. Has your workflow improved after the Bamboo X1 Carbon? No sense in just print. No nonsense, just print and forget. Yes and no. I have had a few fails. The AI is very sensitive, and you've got to be careful with it on some colors. It does not play up, but it's a bit oversensitive, and it stops the print for no good reason at times. In some ways, I'd probably turn that off and let it go. What I haven't had is a print failure I've just had the AI kicking in now and again. It's a phenomenal piece of kit. I'm starting to work on the review now. It is a phenomenal... You guys can't see it. There it is in the corner. It's printing, as I said, a Baby Yoda as we can speak. So, catching up on the rest of the chat. I use a 42-inch TV. Bruce said, the Dominator V6 has a module included. Ah, does it? I didn't know. So, yes. The only difference from Air and O3 was the switch from H2 to H265. I don't see Orqa improving on that. There's a bit more to it than that. DJI have completely redone their algorithm, which is quite interesting, but we'll think of that. Okay. Now, time to talk about a couple of other things. HD0. Let me grab my goggles. Now, someone mentioned it earlier, so I'm going to do a quick talk on that. Now, mine were here. I was using them yesterday to record some of the Avatar HD stuff. Unfortunately, though, I couldn't use these because they can't record off HDMI. And I needed a pass-through, but I was using them as sort of a pass-through. Oh, Bruce, I was already thinking that. I was going to talk about that as well. AV1. However, really, there's not a lot I can say on these. And look, there's been some interesting comments of, like, are the HD0 goggles the premium goggle today? These are very, very good. But look, they're in a tough time at the moment. We've got shipments stopped and we're waiting for the shipments to start again because of the optics issue. And then they've been plagued with the issues around the analog module, recording on the DVR, and overall stability with the HDMI in and 1080p mode. So these goggles are phenomenal. However, there are issues here that need to be fixed, and we are still waiting on them. That's the reality of where things are today. And look, it's really hard for me as a content creator, for instance, to make content on how good these goggles are overall, but what the issues are, because people can't buy them. Yes, there's been changes from the point of me getting them, but those changes have been minor. That big firmware update released and improved things, but 1080p mode still doesn't work. We've still got problems here and there. So we're still waiting. And look, I genuinely think these are a phenomenal product overall. But we really now need to see the issues being smashed away. And look, I feel for Carl because he's getting battered at every corner right now. You know, just as he thought he got production running, the optics issue kicks him. But in the end, what you don't want is this to be rolling on for the next 6 to 12 months. What we need now, and this actually is exactly the same thing as we had with Avatar HD. We need these main issues bolted down and then the rest of the stuff to be tidied up later. And in some ways, I do feel for Carl because he's having to spend so much time fixing the analog on a digital goggle because they are a phenomenal analog goggle. But there is a point where people will go, you know what, I've had enough of this nonsense. I'm just going to go and buy something else and I'll come back when it's ready. I'm not upset with the product, but I'm also not gonna wait. The product is very good, but we need these issues sorted. And look, you know, I know there are DVR issues that are driving people nuts. It's like anything. You need the basics to work and work well on a product. So, if we take an FPV goggle, it needs to input the video somehow, so analog, digital, whatever it is, display that video, and give you the ability to record. And it needs to do all of those three consistently and work all of the time. All of the other bells and whistles are fantastic, but you need them. And at the moment, these aren't quite doing that. People are still having DVR issues. People are having issues with the analog input. So we need that sorted. And look, Carl tried to do the impossible, and he's largely delivered. A goggle that has FPV as analog in, digital, HDMI in, HDMI out. They are amazing. But they also need the issues resolving now. And that's where HD0 is today. And I know Carl's working on it. And look, yeah, it's a huge task. But there is a point where something becomes a never, never, never. If you know what I mean. We you know, you don't want this constant firmware update. Analog is worse. Next update is better. We now need to see the consistency come. And I said exactly the same for the Avatar system as well. And look, I think Carl is a phenomenal person. I genuinely class him as a little bit of a friend. I think he's amazing. But I have to put my, you know, reviewer hat on and say, where there's a spade, there's a spade. And look, the goggles are brilliant. But we need these issues tied down now. There's a point where people will say, you know what, I'll just go to, you know, Orqa or something for analog until it's all sorted. Or maybe not. Maybe not Orqa. Now, that leads me on nicely to this, which is Cadex. Now, I did show you guys this earlier, but there's a lot more people here now, and what I showed you earlier was a little bit of a sneak peek of audience mode. Now, I have two versions of that video I showed earlier. I have a version with the perfect music that I can't play on here because it'll be insta-banned, but I did put it on Facebook. But yeah, we do have a new firmware update for the Avatar HD system. They have finally brought audience mode. That sounds fantastic. And I'm going to go into OBS. Actually, let me just find the files for this. And let me just get to where it is. I am tempted to re-show the video again, but let me show you it on files, actually, because there is a reason for me to do it that way. Raw archive, audience mode, audience. Where is it gone? Avatar spectator. Let me find the right... No, that's not that one. Let me find the right file. OBS. Here we go. So, this is one of the flights. Okay, so just for you guys to see. Now, I did a bit of test, and this was just test flight. I actually had a problem the first time, because the first time I tried it, I was stuck in acro mode. Now, this wasn't meant to be an anything but, and I got a full video on this coming tomorrow. Now, what I will say up front is, for you lovely people here, the audience mode at short range is by far better than DJI. Hands down. This is directly recorded from the VRX. You can see it here. Now, just to be clear, the Avatar VRX will not record on board. You can only record externally. I ended up having to use a capture card on a PC to record this, which you're seeing here. You cannot record on the audience mode unit. You can tell this is the audience mode because it says share. It does show the recording icon in the top corner, but it isn't recording on the unit. Now, in this video, I am at 50 megabits a second as well, and you can also tell it's audience mode because you'll see no milliseconds down the bottom as well. So this was just me moving around the field. Now, I will say up front, it is much better than DJI at short range. It looks fantastic. It looks fine. But then we take it for a bit of a spin further out, and it's fine until the signal starts to drop. And that's where it gets interesting. So we'll just come around here a minute and we have a look. And then you will see the beginnings of it falling apart. And it then begins to break down. And you can see that where the image just starts to melt completely into this crazy mess and enter the swinging 60s. And this is unlike anything I have ever seen on another FPV system. And that gives you an idea of the kind of look it will do when it does this. Now, you can see here, close range look, it's fine. It's absolutely perfect. Nothing at all. I was just moving it around. But then, the second you get it to it starts to drop, wait for it. Here we go. And a complete meltdown of the image. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. It is a Beatles track, Bruce, but it's not this one. It just completely melts down. It is unbelievable. I could fly through that. And then look at the sky here. And then as we come back in, just have a flick around and then it was fine. Now, here's the real interesting part of this. I did one flight where it didn't break up. Now, I ended up having to record this. Now, there is... Let me just find which one it is. Some of these are not very long videos they were testing. It's not that one. I ended up having to record it on a capture card. No, not that one. Let me check this one. Is this the first flight? Right, this is the first flight. You can see it is because I'm stuck in angle mode because I had a beta flight config issue. So if it looks all over the place, well, it always looks all over the place. But here's the interesting thing, right? Look at it breaking up now. It's not doing the same thing. It's not going into the... It's doing it more like DJI at this point. Now, it is breaking up a little bit. But let me just get... This does not break up the same. So I go behind these trees, right, where it should now melt down. Did I try it in 25? Yeah, very similar. But it doesn't quite do the crazy fall apart look. It starts to, but doesn't quite. And look, I even go back into this... Oh, did I go back into this corner then? I clearly just didn't push it hard enough on this first flight to bring it up. I ended up bringing this in because I couldn't fly it because it was in. So it's weird. Now, just to give some opinions, and I do hardly any iframes in the stream at all. Yeah, it is weird. It is really weird. Although it clearly is getting frames because there's a point where you see it streaming out. It is definitely getting updated data, but clearly not new full frames. That's where the issue is. You're not getting an intermediate frame at all. So, it is interesting. But what I will say is this. At short range, it is hands down better than DJI. Genuinely looks as if the iframe's been split over multiple packets. Yeah, Bruce, it could be. Does make sense, doesn't it? Because there's a point where it's like a river flowing. It's bizarre. Utterly, utterly bizarre. But what I will say is this. In good signal, it is by far better than DJI. But when it melts down, does it melt down? It really, really melts down. So, I don't know. Is there anyone else who's tested this here who's had the same thing, first of all? I'm intrigued. Has anyone else had it? It's much prettier than HD0 static, though. Yeah, that's for sure, Bruce. Booze and rugs. Yeah. Now, there is a special edit of that first video I showed at the start of the stream with a proper track that I cannot play on YouTube. I uploaded it to YouTube and it instantly blocked it worldwide. That tells you, don't try using the Beatles. They don't like that. But I'd be intrigued to know if anyone else has had the rainbow LSD effect. It's just seems flying that caused it. I'm intrigued if anyone else has had the psychedelic meltdown. It's good though. I have today. It's good for close range. Close range, yeah. Interesting. It also seems okay as long as there's good signal. I'm sure there are still some... There's a point where it just goes, whoa. Now, what is really lucky is, yeah, I did some very fast flights at the end, and it's exactly the same. I've not got them in that bit. I did a couple of... I had the camera angle a bit low on the quad. This was a rebuild to add in the avatar system. And that's why it wouldn't let me out of angle mode because I hadn't configured Betaflight properly and the camera was flat. I did do some tests at the end fast, and it behaves the same largely. Would this be the same technique for their proprietary? No, I think yes and no. The difference is for fixed latency, look, you could argue, and actually that's a real nice take into Chris Ross's video, actually. For those who haven't seen, let me go full screen. This is a nice walk, because Chris Rossa has just released this video here. Let me put it up, which he walks through DJI 3 versus Avatar versus Caddx Vista range and penetration testing. Now, let me mute it because we don't want sound. There we go. And Chris does sort of this ingenious bench testing method. Now, we don't know for sure this is a valid way of testing, but what he does do is rather interesting. Is first of all, he does power tests, which, look, I'll address the power tests first, okay? This meter is as useless as the Immersion RC one, which Chris says largely. Measuring RF power, and Chris puts up this chart, and let me put this up, and he shows the power levels. Right, look, you cannot believe a word of these power levels. Nothing to do with Chris. Measuring OFDM power is hard, and Chris knows this. Look, I spoke to a very, very large test equipment manufacturer about measuring the OFDM signals, and I was talking to them about one of their $10,000 RF power sensors, and they asked about the system. We went through it, and they went, yeah, don't bother. It's not going to be accurate enough. You'd need our XX line product, which was like $35,000 to even begin to get. He does make it clear. Chris does absolutely make it clear. But the problem is, and this is why I've not put anything up, because the second you put this up, people start taking it as fact and accurate. I'm not saying Chris is wrong. I love Chris. He's a friend. But the problem is, once you publish this, people start questioning it. Now, I know the method Chris is going to use. And he's going to try using like one of those power sensors, which is 10 grand, which I said. They told me don't even bother. And here's another thing to understand is this. As I've said already, right, the power level is irrelevant because of the amount of factor plus minus. If we look at, right, let me just bring up this and show you this, right? If we look at DJI's own certified documentation for O3, okay? So let me just find this image. I put it on my Discord. I'm just trying to find where I did what I did with it. I also put it on somewhere else. I'm just trying to think. Here, right. So if we look at DJI's own certified documents for O3, okay? So this is what has been done by the testing house for the FCC certification. So, first of all, this document here, and let me zoom this out, okay? This is the uncertainty of measurement table in the FCC test report. So, radio frequency accuracy plus minus 1 to the minus 10.7. Okay? RF power conducted. That is the one we're interested in. Plus minus 2.5 dB. Just to give you, again, context on that, 2.5 dB is the difference between 1200 milliwatts and about 800 milliwatts of RF power. That is uncertainty of measurement on the official certified equipment is plus minus roughly 300 watts. So we're at the point, it's basically not worth measuring at this point. It's just pointless. Now, if we take a look at this document here, this is the actual RF power levels measured. Worst case is what they class as in MIMO mode, not single in, single out, so multi-input, multi-output. The maximum RF power is about 28.9 dB, but you've then got to take into account their actual calculated output is that number plus the antenna gain, which is EIRP, to give you 30.04 dBm. So, in the end, this is what has been measured, but at the end of the day, so 300 watts. I said 300 watts. 300 milliwatts. I just seen that. 300 milliwatts difference. If it was 300 watts, we'd be laughing. 300 milliwatts. Wouldn't average be worse? Average, yeah, I think it's complicated. The problem is this. In the end with power, what matters? The RF power or the behavior of the system? And I think this is with Chris's video is genius, because what Chris does show is something which we've never seen before. And that is the behavior of the actual systems. And it is super interesting when you look... Oh, sorry, I've stopped Chris at the worst time. When you look at these charts here. And look, I strongly suggest you watch this video. This video is bloody fantastic. Bloody fantastic. But what's super interesting in this is just how pegged... how pegged the bit rate and latency is. So the bit rate drops quick and then stays, and the latency stays within a very, very short area. Whereas on DJI, it is a much wider area here that the latency stays within. And this could explain some interesting stuff, actually, because there's always been comments of the variability of the latency on DJI, and people have often said that Avatar felt less. That could explain it. But the only problem with this is we're relying on their numbers. And that's the only complaint I've got here on this, is that we are relying on their numbers. Do we know? This is the issue. But look, this video is phenomenal. It is such a great overview of testing. Check it out if you haven't seen it. It's from Chris. My only thing is, look, I'm at the stage, I did so much investigation. Literally, I had my fingers on the button of a 10 grand RF power meter, and it was like, it's not worth it. We are far better in FPV measuring performance and not physical RF power. because the physical RF power does not mean the system's better. For instance, there's a reason the Avatar HD system is having problems at 1200 milliwatts, because we're driving the amp to the max, and with OFDM signals, you start to introduce jitter and problems in the signal at mass gain levels. Because remember, that 50 megabits a second RF carrier isn't one carrier. It could be 256 individual carriers being pumped through that RF amplifier, and it's having to switch and amplify that, and it's very, very hard. There is nothing to say DJI at 1200 milliwatts is outputting 1200 milliwatts. Something that is worth taking into account with RF power is the only measure we have ever had is the numbers in the DJI goggles. We have no idea what actual output DJI is giving us. All we know is that they have labeled it 700, 1000, 1200 and below, 250. We have no factual evidence that that is correct. That number could actually be EIRP. So you'd have to take off 1.5 dBs, roughly. So when we're talking about power, comparing Avatar to DJI, people say DJI just works at 1200, Avatar doesn't. Perhaps they're not actually at the same levels. DJI could be 1.5 dB below 1200 milliwatts, and they're including that number as EIRP numbers, whereas Avatar are just going, oh, we're going to pump the amp to 1200 milliwatts. You have to take into account, we don't actually know how much power the DJI or the Avatar system's putting out. We just have an arbitrary number that DJI have given us. And that's what we've used for comparison. Slightly different with HD0. I have seen the HD0 charts. We can estimate, for instance, again, if I put that chart back up I showed you, we do know that the O3 system from the factory has been measured at 28.9 dB. That we know. Where's my AMS a bit noisy? We know it's been measured at 28.9 dB. But that's all we got. So for me, from a power measurement point of view, I've actually got to the stage of thinking it's completely pointless. It is not like analog where we would sit here and say that 500 watt VTX isn't as good as this 600 watt VTX because 500 milliwatts or this 600 milliwatts VTX because that in dB gives us X amount more range. That logic and that math worked in analog. It doesn't work in digital because the codec, the behavior of the system, HD0 and all of the, like the HD0 versus DJI and all of the others, there's so much to talk about. There's more to it than pure RF power. And that's really my point on it. But please do check out Chris's video. It's phenomenal. He's done an outstanding job. But I would bin the RF power measurement talk, and let's concentrate on how the system behaves. Because at the end of the day, it don't matter if it's outputting 500 milliwatts less than the next one. What matters is how does it perform? Because in digital, 200 milliwatts may make no difference at all if it degrades the signal and causes problems in interference in the OFDM carriers. You could have a very real possibility, like on Avatar, that the lower power levels perform better, even give you longer range. Because it's introducing less error. And that's where this whole thing gets complicated. Now, catching up on the chat. Wattage 2007. An observation. Why do I never say anything negative about HD0? They've been having some pretty crazy problems with their goggles, but I've seen no mention of any of these issues from me. I mentioned them 15 minutes ago. Okay. If we talk about the issues HD0 have, they are the same issues that the goggles had on day one. So it's hard to re-talk about something that isn't new. So, what issues did they introduce? They introduced a firmware update that had poor analog performance. They then 3 days later pushed out a video that fixed it. Sorry, a firmware update that fixed it. There is no point me making a video for something that's already been fixed. The optics issues, I discussed it on these live streams. Have I put a dedicated video out? No, because I don't see the point. I just don't see the point of creating a dedicated video to say HD0 have had optics problems, but they fixed it. And if you've got a set you're waiting on, because look, if we take the optics issues, the people who have the goggles have the optics issue, so they already know about it. The goggles in production are having that fixed, so they won't. The people who get those goggles won't have it at all. What it isn't is a problem without a fix. So if I talk about issues that I've highlighted on the channel with DJI, so the biggest issue I highlighted initially with DJI was the goggles that were resetting into FPV drone mode. I reached out to DJI myself. Loads of people were posting. It was like a month this was going on for, and there was no fix. So I put out the video that said, do not buy these goggles for the V2s. They then reached out to me and said, oh, we didn't know about this. Can you give us more details? And produced a firmware update within 4 days and fixed the issue. Now, I'm not going to sit here and take complete credit for that, but what I did was highlight the problem. But that was done because they weren't doing anything about it. They then had another issue with it rebooting, which we discussed, and then they fixed that. There is a difference between putting out dedicated videos on an issue that doesn't have a fix and putting out dedicated issues on an issue that does have a fix. So let me also now bring this back into what's happened with Orqa. I made 2 dedicated videos on an issue that they were addressing. However, the reason I made those videos was to get the message out there to users that you need to do something with your goggle. If Orqa had had the problem, released a fix, all in the same week, it would have just been a discussion here, just like I discussed the HD0 issues earlier. So, when you're being critical about a company, you have to decide what you intend the outcome to be. I'm not a news channel. I do discuss it on a Sunday, but I'm not a channel that puts out videos just to make news that often. So if we talk about the issues HD0 goggles have, I discussed earlier, DVR is still playing up. People have had the optics issues. The analog stability, I think, still needs a bit of improvement. There are some silly little issues. They are not worthy of a video to say, because I discussed all of these in the review. There's nothing new. Why would I make a video to say this is still terrible? If they release a firmware update that stops the HD0 working, then I'll review that. But you have to have context around it. Now, did I make content every time Avatar HD released a new video? Actually, yes, I did. But that was a brand new system, not a goggle. And as much as we were talking about the hardware, at that point, it was really, this system is new. Does it work like DJI? Does it work like HD0? How's the compression? We had everything to learn about that. With HD0, the HD0 system is largely stable. 720p, 60, all fine. 720p, 90, all fine. The 1080p mode isn't working yet. We haven't made a video on that because I can't talk about a feature that doesn't exist. As then everything else is goggles. We have, though, a deep understanding of how HD0 works. I'll be more than happy to make a video on the next firmware update when it comes out. But you also have to understand, what are we criticizing here? So that's the answer to that question. Chris says, can we trust the reported latency? Not on Avatar. That's where my worry is with Chris's data. It's relying on the STR files or the SRTs. Very consistent latency indeed. What I will do on HD0 is put an update video out. Ross's video was very good, Cool Cat said. Low latency is almost worthless. There is no consistency in frames per second. This is the problem I have with DJI V1 at least. Yes. If the Goggles 2 and the Integras were the same price, what would I choose? Frank asks. Goggles 2. Okay, so if I had to choose between Integras and Goggles 2, and it was the same money, it'd be Goggles 2, because it is a better goggle. My whole opinion on Integras being a better buy is simply based on the price, because it is hard to say that the Goggles 2 are that much better, the cost difference. I would save the money. Now, there is something interesting about the Goggles 2 versus the Integras, which I still don't fully know the answer for. There is talk out there that the Integras have much smaller OLED screens than the Goggles 2, but I have seen nothing to factually back this up. Now, when I reviewed the two side by side, yes, the screens looked slightly different. The colors, the overall image did look different. But I put that down to the optics, as did some of the other reviews. But there is talk of the screens being much smaller on the Integras. Now, what I didn't see is any form of screen door effect or anything that really concerned me. So again, my point would still be the cost saving on the Integras is absolutely worth it compared to the Goggles 2. But if they're the same price, I'd get the Goggles 2. That's simple. Because it is a better goggle. Removable antennas, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. You may never need it, but it's there. Better located SD card slot. Traditional FPV battery. Can't remember what else. Adjustable optics built in. Yeah, Lon actually has a good point. If you're flying DJI drones, get the Integras. If you're flying normal FPV, get the Goggles too. Yeah. Look, it's price. It really comes down to money. If money's no object, then buy the Goggles too. You'll be happy. Field of view is better on the Goggles too. I'm not convinced. It's bigger. I'm not going to say it's better. I'm not going to say it's better. I think I found the reduction in field of view actually helped. But you can do that on the Goggles too by zooming out anyway. So you can achieve the same thing, 90%. Just catching down. I'm gonna get a Walk Snail VRX for the HD0 goggles and to see what the difference is, and we'll decide from there. But overall, quite happy with HD0. I've never even used DJI goggles too. Yeah. Mads Tech, can you do a video test in the Walk Snail power amplifier fix? Does it work? Does it reduce the output range across all the power settings or only the highest? Yeah, I need to have a look at this. The only problem is I don't know what effect that's going to have. Look, if it's very minor differences, it looks like it's a gain adjustment is what it looks like to be. What we don't know, though, is what effect that will have. Very small movement in power levels is hard to do. You've got to take into account, we don't fully understand. It might not be as simple as adjusting the power level. It could be as simple as adjusting a feedback circuit that adjusts the power level. And it may not even be noticeable. But yeah, I need to do some testing. Fixed antenna was a deal breaker for me on Peppermints. Yeah, integrated ship with remote ID. #1 feature for consumer drones. 100%. I forgot about that. Would you mind looking at the live stream chat in my Discord? Okay, let me have a look. Sorry, I haven't got that up. I always forget to have that up. So Zero Test Guy has said, would you mind looking at this price list? All prices are in euros. I'll probably change the batteries out to CH&Ls. Pizza 1200s for the secure ones. Let's have a look. Quad Builder. So we've got the Radio Master RP3 Express RS. That's all right. Okay. I would probably... Right. I love the Radio Master receivers, but 27 euros. Look, there are so many good Express RS receivers for like 15 quid. There isn't one that's bad. These are very good, but I wouldn't be paying 27 euros for a receiver. Try to get that down. HQ props, very good. AOS 5 frame, nice. Zing E Pro motors, yeah, nice choice. HD0 freestyle bundle, okay, yeah, all right. SpeedyBee F405 version 3, nice. Not a bad flight controller. Lipos, Ovonics, I don't know them. 1300 million, yeah, 4 of them, I was going to say. That's, yeah, I would get the pizzas or the CH&L Blacks. Radio transmitter module, Zorro Express LRS, nice. Are you sure you don't want to go for a Boxer? Boxer would be my opinion. Watch that battery life. I love the Zorro. The Boxer's better. I would get the Boxer. HD0 goggles, nice choice. Hotter, not used yet. Good battery charger. Yeah, I see no real issues there at all. I'd be trying to get that Express LRS receiver down on price. $15, $17 max. 20. I think if you can get the Radio Master ones for 20, they're worth it. And I would consider the Boxer over the Zorro. Genuinely, let's put the chat back up. Genuinely, I would go for the Boxer over the Zorro. Night and day. I love the Zorro. The Boxer's better. It's there. Yeah. This radio. The reason this is here, I've just updated the firmware. There's a video coming on that, on how to update this. Good radio. Keep the battery bank on you. Yeah. They're both good radios, but I think the Boxer's ugly. Screen's too small for the form. Ruined it. I think the screen's perfect. What? I don't bother running a lure. I'm wearing FPV goggles. What does the size of the screen matter to me for? The screen is purely there to configure it. Period. And I do that once. I don't even go in the Express LRS lure script. I have no reason to. I turn the radio on, it connects to my quad, I fly. Express LRS is set to dynamic. Everything's on the same binding phrases. I don't change the rates. Not even that. I just use the computer to configure the radio. I was going to say, yeah. I don't... The screen on the TX16 is way too big. How dare anyone talk bad about the Boxer? No, I don't see an issue with the screen size. This size on anything, it's fine. Compare it to what you get on... I even think... yeah, the X-Lite or those other radios with the tiny screens, they're fine as well. Plane users need big screens. Quad users don't. Quad users don't need a big screen. Quad users barely need a screen. Every one of my quads is configured exactly the same. I had it flick up. Is that about the DJI FPV drone? I had read it. I just didn't have a chance to respond. Ah, right. The Mambo is perfect. Yeah, the Mambo's weird. If I remember, the Mambo screen is bigger than the actual what they show you. I assume they were decent quality. Yeah, they're not bad. The Radio Master batteries are fine. They just don't last very long. You can get some higher capacities. There are higher capacities out there. Just looking at the printer. Let me just open Bamboo Studio up just to get the status. Why doesn't anyone talk about the Radio Master XT12? Is there a problem with it? Do you mean the TX12? I have a TX12 here, Mark II, very good radio. It's a bit cheap, and I did say that in my review. The plastics let it down. It's a very good radio, but the plastics let it down. I like it a lot, but I would like it with better plastics. That's what's being printed as we speak. Just waiting for that to finish. It's doing a filament change. I use tree supports on this one. Yeah, we're in multi. So we'll just have to wait to see how it comes out. Baby Yoda and testicles. Tentacles. The tentacles are tree supports. Yeah. Yeah, the tree supports. They look interesting. They always do. But yes, we're just waiting on that. My Radio Master, I'm going to get that off the screen because that's going to be distracting if I don't. The Radio Master 600 milliamp hour lasts forever in the boxer. It's got one for the goggles too. Absolutely amazing runtime. Yeah, that's the best thing about it. The battery on the boxer is just the key. You can get a good battery, mind, in the TX12 as well. You can get a decent battery in that one. Orqa Slicer for Bamboo Printer. Yeah, I haven't moved on to Orqa Slicer. I've been sticking with Bamboo Slicer for the review. So I've been sticking, just trying to keep things simple. Tango 2 screen is way too small. I need reading glasses. RS. Okay, so that is that. What else was I going to talk about? I'm trying to remember. What else have I got in the title? Nothing. If you have any questions, please do put them in the comment section. A couple of other things, really, just to talk about. Interesting. Obviously, this week I just put up the power station video. I think it's a good bit of kit. They're not cheap, these things. You know, these are not cheap pieces of kit. It's a 25 amp hour 6S battery. For all intents and purposes. It is, though, a very, very handy piece of kit. I actually used it just to show you this, because this is in the video for tomorrow, but I needed it for the review, for the video tomorrow for Avatar, to be able to power my laptop and a few other things whilst I was out and about. It was very handy for that. When I was out in the field. Let me find when my computer allows me to open the folder. Thank you. Where is it? Let me find it. Now, it's always annoying that my computer will not show me thumbnails, but I was using it to power the laptop for the recording of that Avatar HD footage. Let me mute that because I don't want sound. But yeah, I was using it to power the laptop. I had to use a HD60S on the output of that. It was just sitting on the HD0 goggles in the end. But that's how I actually ended up recording. So to be able to do that avatar footage, I ended up having to HDMI out into the HD60S. And then record that on the laptop on the screen capture, because that was the only way I could do it, because it just doesn't... Can you charge the unit by discharging any leftover 6S batteries? You'd have to put a charger in the between, yes. So charge voltage on it is 22, I think it is. So you could definitely charge it from 6S. You just have to use a LiPo charger in recycle mode, basically. Yes, you could do it. Now, it does use 27600 cells. I worked out, I think, was it 24 of them? Was it 20? No, 16. Might have been 16. I can't remember I did work it out. I have torn it down to have a look. There's a lot of cells in there. But yeah, look, you can... They are expensive, but they're also so bloody handy. You know, I've used it a lot. You know, it's not the most portable device, but it certainly is very handy to have in the back of the car. Very, very handy to have in the back of the car. 25 amps, 6S power, basically. I don't know what would that cost in batteries. So if we wanted big 6S batteries, so I haven't looked at the prices. So 6S, yeah, 127. These are 4 amp though cells. So 21700 is 4 amps. These are 4 amps, not 2s. So if we look in the UK, 6x6 configuration. They're Life PO4s. Yeah, they're definitely Life PO4s. So if we look at 21700, were they 21700s? I can't remember what size battery I said was in them. Wait a minute, let me just look. I'll know because I got it here. Here it is. 26700 cells. Yeah, they're 26700s. They're these. These are the actual cells in it. I found them. 26700s, 4 amps. And they're in a 6x6 configuration. 6 series, 6 parallel. But I don't know what sort of cost these 4 amp hour. They're €5 each. But they're not Life PO4s, are they? But yeah, that's what's in it. But I don't know what you get in a LiPo on that. Although you're not going to get cells. Oh, what do these cost in the UK? I do not know what sort of pricing these battery cells are. So if you go wholesale, dodgy. So Alibaba pricing. $1.76. That's worryingly cheap. $6S 27,000 milliamp hour. Getting these in the UK isn't easy. Yeah, this is the problem. The battery that is in it is a known name. You know, it was that company I showed you there. They're a Chinese cell manufacturer, so like all of the batteries. So they're not no name. But if we look on Alibaba, you got all sorts of stuff here. You just don't know. But these are the Canvacos. Yeah, so those ones are what? $1.76 each. Fairly cheap. The actual cell that is in it is, if I go back to my raw archive and find the Bluetti folder, actually it won't. Will it be here? I don't know if I transferred that over. It was on my phone, so I don't know where that one would be. I'll have to find that one. But no, it's a very good piece of kit. Obviously, the IH3 video went live earlier in the week. Overall, I think it's an interesting drone. Right. Subject, because I want to cut this. One major subject, and that is, there is a lot of discussion out there about warranty on bind and fly drones. Now, this is predominantly being brought up due to iFlight, because there are people who've reported issues with their O3 air unit. DJI are not willing to take that air unit back, and iFlight are sort of sitting in the middle on this at the moment, and Patrick did put a post out on it, which we'll talk about in a minute. Now, just to be clear up front, there seems to be a bit of a misunderstanding on how DJI's warranty process works for all of their products, not just O3, but every product that they make. DJI do not offer a global warranty. So, take these goggles. If I was to buy these in the UK, DJI will know that that serial number was shipped to the UK for a retailer, or if you bought it from DJI Direct, you would get a UK model, and that would be warranted in the UK. That would not, though, be warranted in the USA. It would not be warranted in China. The same stands if you were to buy your FPV goggles in the USA, or you were to order them off Banggood, your warranty would be in the country of origin. DJI does not offer a global warranty. It is only valid in the official origin country the product was destined for. So, for instance, Banggood products are Chinese models. If you were to buy a Banggood Mavic Mini, it broke, you would end up having to ship it to China at your own cost and back from China at your own cost. I actually have a video on this subject from many, many years ago where I show it is simply not worth the cost saving that you would get from somewhere like AliExpress or Banggood on DJI products, because you don't have the same warranty. Now, this is the case with O3 as well. And what happens is, the air units that iFlight and others in China are putting into their ready-to-fly drones are Chinese models and are only warranted in China. Now, iFlight are sort of suggesting that DJI are giving them problems getting air units swapped, and iFlight are losing on it when there is an issue. The real crux of this right now is basically any bind and fly drone that has a DJI air unit in it, that air unit will only be warranted by that manufacturer and not DJI. They will not even let you ship it back to that country. What DJI is saying is, oh, that was sold to iFlight, you need to go and talk to them. Now, what we don't know is iFlight buying them wholesale without warranty and trying to blame DJI, or is DJI playing a bit of buggers here? The real truth is, regardless, DJI do not offer a global warranty. Now, I'll find iFlight's post on this because it is quite interesting. And it does bring up questions on what we should do. So what should happen is, if you have a problem, you need to send it back to the manufacturer, and that manufacturer will deal with the warranty with them. Now, it is a complex situation, because you've also got to ask yourself what sort of warranty people expect on a bind and fly anyways, and what sort of warranty should we be expecting in FPV. It's not like the DJI air units break down all of the time. They are largely reliable. Now, I'm just trying to find his posts I've seen most recent. Let me turn I'm just trying to find his post on this, unless it's been taken down. It is an interesting situation. It's hard to blame DJI on this. DJI have never offered a global warranty. Period. Ever. This is nothing new. This is always their behavior. They are then wholesaling these parts to iFlight and other manufacturers, and it really then comes down to them to warrant this. So you can argue iFlight need to base their margins on having to replace some broken air units, regardless of if they get them replaced by DJI or not. The post seems to have disappeared, which I find interesting. Let me just search for warranty. I can't find the post. That's interesting. That is very interesting. Hello, Bot Grinder. How are you, my friend? I hope you're safe and well. I was trying to find that, but I think it's gone. So, the very basics are, with warranty, if you are expecting to have warranty on a bind and fly product, you've got to take into account that you may not have a warranty on the air unit. If that bothers you, don't buy one. Now, for me, I'm going to have to mention this on any bind and fly review moving forward, just to give complete clarity. I think it is a messy situation, but also, look, let's be honest. Air units generally don't just break. If it breaks, it's probably been crashed. Should they be warranting it anyway? I don't know. But I did want to bring this up. So, officially, as it stands today, DJI won't cover you. iFlight may cover you. How much warranty do we expect to have on FPV products anyway? For me, I think the best way forward with this would be if iFlight offered an out-the-box DOA warranty and then say, look, as long as it works on day one, that's all we're going to offer. If it doesn't work on day one, we'll replace it. If it does work on day one and something breaks 3 weeks later, that's on you, simply because of the nature of the hobby. Although that doesn't align with EU rules, and iFlight do now have an EU store, and we're going to have to see how that all pans in. But that was something I wanted to mention. Now, I'm going to get back to the chat. We have the amazing, the infamous, the unstoppable Mr. Botgrinder in the chat. How are you, my friend? I hope you are well. I hope your life is fantastic and everything is going well, my buddy. Just going to catch back up on the chat. Why wouldn't they start? I don't know what that's in relation to, Darkman. iFlight should take care of their customers. What's up, FPV? Yeah, it's a complicated one, and I agree. Hello, Bockrender. Hey, hey. But DJI should warrant them for iFlight. Depends the deal. It does depend the deal. Lon said it's kind of typical. If I purchase a car, for example, I can't go to the company that makes the alternator or tire if there's a problem. 100%. And tires is actually a really interesting one. You know, you have a car that comes with tires. If one of them was defective, you wouldn't go to Bridgestone, or it gets messy. It does get messy. It's not particularly unusual, but there are people making some noise about this. Dennis, Rocketman, how are you? Robert Rosser. Almac, hello, hello, hello. Smags FPV. Hand pink waving. Face blue smiling. Whatever that means. Darkman, it was why shouldn't DJI start offering a global warranty? Oh, sorry. I'm not saying they shouldn't. They don't. I'm just giving you the facts of what they do. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. They should look after their customers as well. DJI sells globally. They have their own website that ships globally. They should behave like Apple, in my opinion, and actually warrant their products globally. Yet they don't. DJI only warrant in the country of origin. I built a 6 kilowatt solar setup for my buddy's cabin. He's living out of 30 kilowatt battery. I believe only cost like 15k, but probably 30 now. 3 years of inflation. Absolutely, battery prices have gone up. Ricardo Ferreira, what's harder setup, F or Sky or Express LRS? It could be fair to say Express LRS is harder. A little bit. A little bit. Express LRS can be a bit funky. Once you get used to it, it's fantastic. Baby Yoda's finished. Should we have a look at him before we finish the stream? Baby Yoda's done. It is possible. Actually, I can't. I need to film it for the review. So I can't. Unless I. We need to have a look at Baby Yoda. We'll have to have a look at Baby Yoda. I think FR Sky might be harder to... Express RS might be a little harder to set up out the door. Can be a bit difficult at times. Just the whole binding thing. Dennis, Chris... Breaking news. Mike Bigden Pigeon is born. Son of Nick. Right, let me move some stuff for the overhead, because I'm going to have to record this. I'm going to have to use this footage that I'm recording in the review. So we're going to have a live look at Baby Yoda. Okay, let me get my phone. I'll be back. I'm just going to record. I just got to finish some of this. Okay. Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda. In multicolour. Right, let me just make sure the focus on this is right. Right, we got the focus. More light. It's coming, it's coming. It did the colour change, yeah. Should we come in a bit? It's not perfect. We'll have a look now. There you go. Wow, that's a lot of earwax. Right, we want to get him out, don't we? We want Baby Yoda off. Right, we're there. Right, okay. Let's break the plate. Now, this is the purge tower, and although the AMS is... it poops out the back, it still does a purge tower. You can reduce this, but it's just to make sure there's no overlap. Now, if you look, the green has changed colour, and the reason is this filament is a multicolour filament. It's not one green. It's actually green, yellow. It's moving through into yellow now. His head should have slightly more yellow in it than green because it's a colour-changing filament. Does the bamboo not waste a ton of filament in purge? Yeah. But what can you do? If you want multicolour, you're going to have to waste some filament in the purge. It is what it is. You can't worry about it. Right, so, off the bed. Okay. You can pitch to infill as well. So now we've got to start breaking, bits off. So we're going to start breaking off these tree supports. They do hold very, very hard. You have to be careful that I don't break him. So now we're just going to break that tree support off there. That's fine. There we go. That one came off as one, look. We've still got some earwax. We're going to break that off there. We're going to break that one off on his mouth. There we go. And I think I had ironing turned on this one. This is out the box. So this is the Bamboo X1 Carbon out the box. Look, and tree supports are not the perfect solution for everything. I'm a little concerned on the fingers here. Just give me a second. I don't want to break the fingers. Let me very carefully just snap that piece there. There we go. I don't want you've got to be careful because you could break the print if you're not careful. Right, so we've now got just this hand to release. Right, so I think this is going to be the hard one. Because this one is completely encased. Completely encased. It's coming. Ah. It's definitely loose. It's coming off. Look, it's getting there. Oh, hey, we done it. So that's all the tree supports. Does the slicer support using dissolvable supports? I can do on the Bamboo. I can use dissolvable. I've got dissolvable support here if I wanted it. I could print with it if I wanted to. Yes, absolutely. So, Baby Yoda. Let's get in closer, shall we? Not perfect, but I tell you what, not bad. Not bad at all. Look, tree supports don't offer as much support as some others, so we're a little bit rough under here on the overhangs. Same down here a little bit. Yes, I did have adaptive layer height on. Yes. So if we look in his head, you can see there the adaptive layer height on the top. What do we think? You can't knock it. You can't knock it. That was a 5-hour print. So that was 5 hours. I had to color it myself, but that was a 5-hour print. I also have a I did a white one first. I did a white one. That was the original test print. It's actually the same model. I just removed the base. This one is actually a little cleaner. If I look around it in places, it's actually a little bit cleaner, the white one. But this green isn't bamboo filament either. This is some cheap PLA I had. Oh, wrong one. Let's go to that one. Am I the only one that's amazed at how far 3D printing has come in just a few years? It is incredible, isn't it? Yeah, it really, really has come a long, long way. Same as the black. The black on this is not bamboo filament. I thought the supports was him puking. No, it's but yeah, Baby Yoda. But yeah, this isn't the best. My console, yeah, I wouldn't say print quality has come on a huge amount over the years. What I would say is reliability has come on. I've been circling the bamboo printer for a while, but the Snapmaker 3-in-1 is the same price range. Now I'm unsure. They're both good at different things. I'm lucky I have both. You know, the Snapmaker is an interesting tool. A very interesting tool. The Snapmaker ain't a great 3D printer. It's not, as I said in my review, it's not great at anything. What the Snapmaker is, though, is very good. Bamboo, definitely. The Bamboo Labs 3D printer, good for the first starter print. Yeah, ENF, I think the Bamboo is probably as... Look, I would say today... We'll finish up on a bit of 3D printing talk because, actually, there's been a lot... I'm following the K1 reviews from Creality very, very closely. For anyone who's seen, a few of the KOLs have got one. We've had things snapped his hot end. It's all the controversy this weekend about 3D printing. It's been quite funny to watch. There's been a review which has upset everyone because the guy has acted... a bit like a shill, according to people. I'm not saying that, just people are saying that. But look, we've now got the arms race of 3D printers. So the Bamboos, the X1 Carbon, and the P1P. 99% of people will be happy with the P1P. I promise you. Unless you need the MMS. 90% will be happy with the P1P. The K1 is interesting, but it needs a year. We do not know the reality on the reliability on the K1 at all. And it just goes to show because they've just had a hot end snap. The Bamboos, this printer is as out the box turnkey as I have ever seen in a 3D printer. Now, I am going to say it isn't quite plug and play. It comes pre-assembled, apart from you've got to fit the screen, which anyone can do. Plug in the cable, lock it in place. There is an Allen key needed to disassemble the bed because it's bolted down, and you do need to do some minor assembly. There are printers that have similar levels of minor assembly. But with the bamboo shines, it's just how well it works. I'll be honest, there is one complaint I have about this printer. It's a bit noisy. It's a bit noisy in use as well. For instance, I could print with the Prusa running and still make content. I can't with that. I could turn the fans down and put it in quiet mode. I haven't tried that yet. But it isn't the quietest of pieces of equipment. That's about the only thing I would say about it. It's a little loud. But it's a hell of a bit of kit. A hell of a bit of kit. It really is. The K1, I would love to order one. I may even order a K1 to have a look at. I will be doing a bit more 3D printing content on the channel anyway. I may order a K1. If I do, I'm going to have to give away a printer because I've got too many. I got a friend who's interested in one, so I might have to give away the S1 because I won't need it. You know, I've got my Prusa, I've got the Snapmaker, and I've got the Ender, and I've got that. So like, I print, but I don't print. I don't have a, you know, I'm at the stage where I have enough printers to literally set up a print farm business. And there's a Sidewinder X2 down there in a box, which I have to review as well. You think that's noisy? Hear my CNC mill. I got the Mark 3S Plus because I've upgraded it. It's louder than the Prusa. It's loud. The Prusa just has a quiet zzz. Look, if you've got the AMS and it's filament swapping, it bangs around because it's got all the purging to do. And it poops, which I think is funny. For those who haven't seen. This is the poop bucket, so you'll now see how much poop was from this one. Let me just zoom out. So that's my poop tub at the moment. So that's how much poop was produced. You'll actually, not all of it, but you can see the colors. So if you look at the green and white and the black and green, that is the poop from the purging. You can see some of the other poop in there. So, yeah, it does a bit. But, yeah, you get used to this side of it. She poops. Okay, catching up on the chat. We've gone late tonight. Okay, I just want to say a few thank yous. A couple of people came in whilst I was talking about other stuff. Right, I'm going to go a couple more minutes, 5-10 minutes. I'm not working tomorrow, so it's fine. Thank you for the people who said about the 40k. Yeah, I talked about it at the start of the show, but I want to acknowledge it as well. Let me just check I haven't missed any more super chats just to make sure. Quad City Bay Area was the gentleman. Thank you for your super chats earlier, my friend. I really do appreciate it. He put 3 in. Catching down on the chat. Also got my AliExpress M10 Mini GPS special. The wire color order is orange, yellow, white, and yellow again. Wow. Great. How do I wire it? AliExpress M10 Mini GPS. We're going to need to look at that. Really That's incredible. Wash my hands. Yeah, the bamboos are really good. Ken Dobo's got a bunch of them. How's the Alpha Quad working out for you? I need to refly it. I've rebuilt. I hard mounted the flight controller, and it was horrific. So now I'm waiting to refly it. I've now semi-soft mounted it. I've currently got KISS installed, but I may reflash it back to Alpha and try that first. Let me just copy that, and then we'll have a look at this GPS. Yeah, but I have had to soft mount it. Originally, though, it was horrific. Let me... Right, what file will the videos for that be in? I don't even know if I've saved them. I don't... What were they on? They were on an SD card. I tell you what they might be in. The folder for the frame. Flyfish. Because that's where I put them. Is there a difference between the micro and the nano on Avatar? There are differences between the cams. Ooh, let me just have a look at this and I'll see if I can show you. Was this the first test? This may have been the very first flight. Yeah, here we go. So this was the very first flight on a field just to see what it did, okay? And you'll see some behavior. So it was just, let's take it for a spin and see how it behaves. And you'll notice two bits of behavior. Can you see that wobble on throttle? And then on punch, it's there on throttle punch. This was just me moving it around. This is literally the first flight. Just to go, look, you know, how are the rates feeling? What's it doing? Just to see how it felt overall. But there's definitely a wobble on the flight. But then, as I pushed the D gains up to try and sort some stuff, I got a horrible vibration on. So you'll see it in a minute. I don't know if it's in this footage. Just to try and see what it was doing. I wasn't used to the rates either. I wanted to see how it felt. But there, I'll show you something in a minute where it was like, there. Did you see it on the throttle punch there? There's a lot of vibration. I spent a bit of time just throwing it around and then just seeing what it was doing. And let me just see what it was doing here. There was one where I crashed because I wasn't paying attention. Is it this one? Let's just have a look. I'm trying to find where it was really vibrating. No, it can't be this, is it? What I usually do is just throw it about in a field until I get it to where I'm happy. Let's have a look. It actually doesn't look as bad as it did in the bloody goggles. It looked worse in the goggles. If you take the props off, the vibrations will go away, Bruce said. Yeah, you can see it. It's got this. I wanted to see what it was. It was feeling okay, but it was the vibrations were just not right. Is it here? I'm trying to wait to see. Yeah. I can't. It's on one of these is where the vibrations were like really weird, bad. Because I was doing a lot of very short flights because I was messing with the D-gain and a few other things just to see. I was literally like hopping up and down here just to sort of get it. Was we still getting that behavior? Yeah, I had a thought on desync myself. I did. It's funny you say that, Cool Cat. It did enter my mind. There's this weird. I think it is the new gyro. Yes, I need to check. I'll plug it in now and have a look. You can see it there. I was on the very latest. When was 4.41 out? Because I flashed it this week. Where's the... Will a dump have what version I was on? Let's have a look. Is it? Yeah, you can see it there. It's like... My spotter is in the car. I was not alone. The spotter is there with me. You can see the car. She'd walked round the corner. They were actually there around the corner with me, keeping an eye out. They'll probably be in this one. She's in the car with me. Normally the kids are there somewhere as well. I think they were watching a film. This is the very first one. What was it doing on this? Will the backup... This was just me. Let's just having to see which one this is. Yeah, no. Will the diff, the backup file, have the version? She was in my immediate proximity. Yeah, I'm trying to find it. I can't remember. Was I on 4.4? I was on 4.40 or 4.41. Where are the backup files for this? Let me just have a look. They should be. Let me just find them a sec. I'll be intrigued to see if it does have it in the files. Apps. VecTech Alpha. So, config version 31. Firmware version 0. Firmware subversion 7. Firmware patch version 26. What does that mean? That's KISS, is it? That was pre-KISS. Oh, wait there, that might be the KISS. Wait there. No, that... I thought that was pre-KISS tuned. You have to adjust them extremely. That's interesting, because I... No, that's alpha. Right, okay. Yeah, 31.0 should be the... Interestingly, I chose... And this will be interesting. I chose the preset. Yeah, it's Chris. Yeah, this was alpha. That's why. This was alpha. I chose the 5-inch preset. You're telling me the 5-inch preset, which is a 5-inch quad, is well off. Whatever, it's not beta flight. No, that was not beta flight. No, if it was beta flight, it wouldn't have been flying like that. Stock PIDs regardless. You have to adjust them extremely. Okay. what are we talking extremely? Because I was with, as I said, I was on, to give you an idea, shots fired to an old CLI from long, long ago. They never updated it. Brilliant. And this is what is bugging me about Alpha. JP in leather pants. Ah, yeah, you got the one on Discord. Yes, that's right. I haven't looked at that. I need to re-find that because I haven't done anything since. If these new gyros. Apparently, there is issues with the new gyros. I've had this flight controller a while. I just can't remember what gyro's in it. Will KISS tell me? If I plug it in, will the KISS GUI tell me what? Will the KISS GUI tell me what... I like Betaflight because it just works. I put a note on the... 1 second, let me grab it. Yeah, look, I'm not saying KISS is bad or this is bad. I am, though, going to say I have found Alpha a little bit frustrating so far. First of all, it wouldn't activate. Okay, so let's go on the desktop. Will this tell me what gyro it is? Let's have a look. So, this is literally just been set up. I've basically not touched it. I'm a little frustrated with my inbox having people having issues with Alpha. Yeah, it's not been quite as smooth as I would like, but I'd like to get there. So the firmware version is FetTech G4. Serial numbers there, activated. But I can't see where it says what gyro it is. Does it say in KISS? I know it shows in Alpha, but I don't know, does it show in KISS? How do we... Okay, there. So, if we back up the... If I back up the KISS backup. So if I back up this flight controller, which I've now just done, I might flash it back to Alpha and start again. I'll do it too. Can I flash Betaflight onto it? No. So, if we go to FetTech Alpha, I have a... So, should I fly Alpha or KISS? Here's the question. Alpha or KISS? Which one? Which one? Do we go Alpha or do we go KISS? Alpha and put my new tune on it. Neither, Mike Bigman. KISS. Well, I've backed KISS up so I can flash it back at any time. Neither. All right. Okay. So let's open the port first. Right. Let's connect. Firmware. Continue. KISS Quicksilver. Unable to update mode. Please disconnect power cycle and reconnect. Wow. I'm intrigued to feel how it flies. Clean flight. I wouldn't mind clean flight. Yeah, look, I'm not a Bando pilot, but I can throw it around if I need to. Unable to activate update mode. Please disconnect, power cycle, reconnect, and try again. So it doesn't want to go back, and it's going to want me to press a button or something now, isn't it? Most of the time, I just spend it throwing it around fields. So now I can't flash back. Will it work? No. Is there a button on this thing somewhere, which means I've now got to take the top off it? There's not really any bandos where I do. I flash. I don't post a lot of footage on purpose. Is there a button on here somewhere that I can't get to? Because that's going to be it. There's either going to be 2 pads or something, isn't there, that I don't know where it is. See, this is the I could behind the USB. Let me just check G4. I want a picture. Ah, yeah, it's there, isn't it? Found it. Right. Two seconds. See if this works. Have I actually done it or not? I mightn't. No response from Ashley. Would you like to flash alpha firmware? Okay. Yes. Yes. Is this going to work? Did I press the button? I don't know. Hey! So what we got here? Is it this one? 0726. Yep, I'm sure. Yep. I'm sure that's what I did before, but let's see. Let's flash it and see what it does. And I have got the backup of what I had it at before I put KISS on. And then I'll restore that backup. Exit firmware mode. So, we're in. Okay, so info. So, yes, this is the IIM 42652. So, that's what this one is. Load. And I'm going to load the FetTech Alpha, pre-KISS tuned. Yep. Configuration saved. Is that it? To bring it back in? So where did I end up? So I hadn't... That can't be right. I'd up the P. Let's just disconnect and reconnect. I had up the P. What's worrying me on that is that looks... Is that stock? Well, it's definitely brought some settings in. aux 1, 4, and 8. Interesting. Okay, so if we go PIDs, now tune PID. P-roll 185, 1.85. Pitch and yaw 2.0. Yep. Then I 0.17 all the way down. Yep. And then D 5.5. Wow, that's a lot higher than I think I went. 3.747. How's that look? For our friend there. If you haven't seen Alpha, it is quite interesting. They put D in yaw. Yeah, it is quite interesting. It's a different animal. And then you've got tuning, and then you got like all of the D-term stuff down here, frequency depth, and all of this stuff. Throttle punch, eye boost, and all of this stuff. Tuning tab, yep. We'll see what he comes up with on the tuning tab. It's a very different animal. Drop P reduction to 0.25 for both. Yep. Set point weight to 0.80. See if it'll be intrigued to see how well it flies, if it flies at all, like it was, because it was junk before. PID ratio of 1 to 2. Frequency depth 0.7. Interesting. That's a very different tune from their one. P-term 0.4. Yeah. LPF. Yeah. That's already 0.4, so we're okay on that. Interesting. It's a very different animal. What's he lolling? Are we done? P-term for LPF 0.82. P-term LPF to 0.82. P-term to L... You're talking that one there. P-term LPF strength. No doubt it's different, way different, but it's got my curiosity. Yeah, it's... Yeah, okay. I'm intrigued if his tune out the box just works. I really will be. This out, it'll go to the moon. It's how much he's put on the D has surprised me. Throttle punch eye boost to 3. Yep. Now a live test fight, see it will explode. I was going to say, it'll just go, whoo! I was shocked. I've seen some people's D-term numbers on this at like 8. And I was like, The stock comes at like 1.5 and they're at 8. And I was like, that seems extreme. Include pitch speed, 0.5. And DC speed, 0.5. Test over on the bench. Yeah, I don't fancy dying. But yeah, I have seen people's on alphas rates at like 8 for D2, and I was like, that you know, because what I always look at is how far from you would go from stock is the way I always look at it. You know what I mean? What is a stock tune? But it could have been vibe. I said I've semi-soft mounted it now. I did hard mount it. Now let me see your ESC and motor tab. That's fine. ESC motor setup. Prop direction is out. Yeah, I did hit save. Let me just check that did save. I did do the bottom bunch, didn't I? Yes, they did. So that's fine. So let's go to the ESC motor type. D-Shot 2400. Yeah. Yeah, you exactly, John Ann Birkland. You would tune one way and just go backwards, wouldn't you? Yeah, exactly. And that's it. Give it a go. But yeah, I have seen the you know, I was surprised at how high some of the D2 numbers were. But okay, cool. I can't do it this second, ladies and gentlemen. But this is alpha for those who haven't seen. This is how it looks. What did I have the rates at? I left the rates stock. I didn't touch anything. A lot of expo out the factory. I was shocked how much expo was on at the factory. An awful lot. Yeah, I will do it like, because I've got the first footage, so the plan will be to show. Go back through it all to make sure it looks good. So on the PIDs, we look fine. 5.5, 5.3, 5.47, 1.8, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. That's fine. Rates is all. That's all fine. We didn't tune that. Tune in. We're then 2525, 0.87, 82. Yeah, I noticed how high the expo was. I was surprised. I will take it down. I wanted to leave it stock. Just the thing was, I wanted to originally do a test to sort of go, this is how it was when I got it. And it was that bad. I was like, yeah, that's rough. I can't make a video like that. That's fine. Everything looks good. Yes. That's fine. FC setup. Upside down now. Orientation defaults. That's fine. Serial. You got all your serial ports. There we go. That's fine. Take the expo down. That's fine. Now to see all of that looks good. Yeah. Right. What I'm going to do is back that one up now. We'll back that up as a saved. We've got that one down as well, and we will give that a try. I'll try that tomorrow. I do like the configurator, but we use select quad size. It does have a default, Chris. It does have one, and that's what I loaded. There's a 5-inch. If I go back in, there is a somewhere, and I can't remember where it is. There is. Here you go. Look, preset at the top corner. You've got standard 5-inch, and that's what I chose originally. That was what I went with. And yeah, no. Is there anything you want me to change in the ESC, Almac? But that was horrific. And look, that is the big difference between alpha and beta flight now. Oh, yeah, that's another huge thing. ESC settings have to be timing 23 and PWM locked at 48. I need BL Heli Suite. I should have it on you. Let me open it up somewhere. Let me just find it. I can't get out of configurator a minute. Let me find BL Heli Suite. BL Heli. I've been using TrackBack on iNav. It's the best return to own. Ah, nice. That's a nice feature. TrackBack. Apps. Why is BL Heli not there? So let me just extract files. That's weird. I've got it, but it's just not. Let's just do this and see if it opens. Is it going to play ball? We're not going to want Kiss. Okay, let's see if this behaves. COM5, connect. Oh, I haven't got a battery on it. Do I need? Sorry, 2 seconds. It's got no props. Let me just grab a battery. I forgot about that. Where's my boxer gone? Where's my boxer? It must be a boxer. Here. I better put the radio on because it's going to beep like hell otherwise. Right. Try that again, shall we? Is it going to connect? It is not looking like it. But no. Let me just unplug and replug the flight controller. Should we try again? Well, hey, we're in. Right, what did he say? Yeah, the preset seemed well off. Okay, so... Oh, yeah, another huge thing. ESC settings. Timing 23 and PWM locked to 48. So, pre-WM frequency... what do we want? Sorry, I've forgotten what he said again. So timing 23. Where's timing? Timing. Read setup for each ESC. There we go. I can't see timing. Why can't I see timing? What does he say for timing? 23. 23 degrees. And PWM locked to 48. So we want low and high at 48. So we've got motor timing 23 degrees. PWM low and high 48. Are we happy with that? Before I write that in? Yeah, good. Read that back. ESC1 red, yeah. ESC2 red. ESC3 red. ESC4 red. There we go. We look good. Good. Each ESC 3 more times. They're all written. So if we disconnect and go back in, we should be fine. No write all button. No, it should just write to all of them because I had them all selected. So if I now read back in, it should read each of them in, and you can see down here they're all read in. So if I click, if we click on one, undo those. If I read in that one, ESC1 red, so we're 4823. ESC2, yeah, that's fine. It's a bit of a funny freaking app, isn't it? It really is. ESC3, 23 degrees 48. And ESC4. Yeah, all looks good. Just double check. Yeah, there we go. All looks fine. Good. That's a hobby wing, that one. So, cool. Disconnect. Should have each CSC on a pages. Yeah, BL Heli Suite's a very weird app. It's not a great app. I'll be honest with you. It really isn't. It's a funny thing. So surely 48's going to tame this somewhat. Not that I'm afraid of it being tamed, but surely 48 is going to tame this back quite a lot. Yeah, BL Heli's it's not a great piece of software. But yeah, surely 48 is going to tame this back quite a lot compared to... Actually, let's put that back up there. Where it would be originally. Usually you find 48 kilohertz just dumbs it down a bit. Be interesting to see how it flies. The problem I'll have now is I won't really know what's done it because I've done the soft mount, semi-soft mount. Now it's on isolators. So hopefully it might fly a bit better. They definitely need to work on their preset. Their preset is not good. You know, I was at the field and I can't remember what the values are on the preset for the D as well. It's really low. Really low. And I was jacking and jacking and jacking. And I was like, this feels I'm having to add so much to this beyond where I thought I would have expected the 5-inch tune to be, if you get my meaning. And look, a piece of advice, I think they really need to sort their presets out because it is no good building a flight controller for only enthusiasts. If that makes sense. It's not the loose. It wasn't that it was loose. It was just the vibrations. Honestly, that footage doesn't just do it justice. It was horrific in the goggles how much it was moving around. It was just any throttle punch, you know, it was all over the place. The higher D is most of it. Did the idle throttle get to 1070? I didn't see that. It's flyable. It actually was fine. It's just the uncommanded movement and the vibration in flight. That you know, I could fly, I could put it, take off, put it down. It's not that it was. Shook my head with the nuts on the stack. I needed some extra height. There's nothing wrong with nuts on the stack. There's nothing wrong with nuts on the stack. They're not adding any more vibes. They're just solid. Well, it couldn't go straight to the fucking ESC, could it? Because it was, it would have burnt out on top. But mine didn't come with any isolators. I don't know if the G4s are meant to come with isolators. Mine came with nothing. No rubber, no nothing. I could have put some TPU on it, but I thought I'll just go nuts. You need a little cushion. Yeah, the G4 mine came with nothing. Do they come with anything? No, not supplied. It's not good, is it? So now, let me just show you. Now she is... Now she is semi-soft mounted, look. There you go, look. You've got isolators in there now. Semi-soft, look. There you go. All well. So I had to poach them off another flight controller. Yeah, you can see there you go. No nuts at all, apart from at the top now. And they're loosely tightened. I've basically done it optimal. The problem is this. I read hard mounted's fine, so I'm going to hard mount it. And I'm going to see how it is. Because that's it. You know, the problem is you've got to install these things as they supply it. If they supply it without soft mount, then that's what it's going to get. Right, ladies and gentlemen. Those your... prints, mad. This finished tonight. This just finished if you weren't watching earlier. Baby Yoda has just finished printing. No, it's not TPU. No, that's PLA. It's a mixture of some old and new PLA. He was on tree supports. Is that FET Tech? That flight controller was FET Tech, yes. Yoda isn't FET Tech. Yeah, the flight controller's FET Tech. G4. So different filaments on same temp. Yeah, they're all PLA. So they're all on the set. One of them was bamboo. Minimum throttle 1070. Okay, I'll have a look at that. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I have gone on far longer than I usually do. There's still 119 of you here. First of all, before you all go, hit the like button. I want to say a massive thank you to you all. I want to say a thank you to everyone who has supported the channel, the stream over the last few years. Quad parts, TPU. Yeah, I didn't print them. Sorry. They came with the frame, but yeah, they're TPU. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone. 40k, it's come, it's gone, but just amazing. We'll be back again, same time, same place next week. Maybe there'll be some news. We'll have to see. I don't know. We'll have to see what's around the corner. We're probably heading for a bit of a quiet time again now. I want to say, as always, a thank you to all of my Patreons. Sorry, I read the chat then. Massive thank you to everyone tonight. Stay safe, look after yourselves, and I will speak to you again soon. Now I gotta find the button. I wasn't ready for that, was I? Look. Right, later.